Oh boy, the advanced hammer. Some say it's an easy weapon, others like to call it hard. I'd say it's easy on the surface, but it can get complicated. There's actually some moves that my brain can't handle when I'm using this weapon. Pro players like to swarm into these type of videos, so I would like them to tell us any tips that I might have missed. Also, we do have Xbox, PlayStation, and PC controls for you to follow. And guys, please leave a like and subscribe. 2 easy buttons to press that will help any other players as well. The mechanics of this weapon is kind of crazy to explain, so I'll give a summarized version at the end of my explanation, if you didn't get what I was saying. This is a support weapon capable of dealing blunt damage, but it doesn't mean that you can't use the weapon as your main DPS. This weapon just reminds me of this funny meme. Dealing blunt damage can tire out a monster or knock them out when you target a monster's head. Okay, so each attack you do is tied to a note, and each note is saved on this music sheet. When you perform attacks in a specific order, as shown right here, you will create a melody, which is magically stored over here. You can play up to 3 melodies before the last melody gets overwritten by the next melody you do. To activate a melody's effect, you have to do the perform move. Eventually, your melody's effect will disappear after some time, so you have to repeat the whole process of activating a melody's effect. In summary, an attack is a note. Notes are saved on the sheet. Specific notes played in order creates a melody. The melody is saved, and then you have to do the perform move to get the melody's effect. Remember to just repeat the process again when your melody's effect disappears. Hopefully you understood that. Otherwise, you can kinda see the mechanics at work throughout the video. Also, every hunting horn has their own notes and melodies. So when you're forging new horns, take a look at what melodies you want to use for your fights. If you want to know what some of these melody effects do, you can go to the play guide, weapon controls, and under the 2nd to 4th tabs, you can see all of the effects there. Yeah, that's a lot for the mechanics. Now it's time to understand your moves. Pressing triangle or Y 2 times will do the left swing and forward smash attacks. However, if you add a directional input first, and you press triangle or Y, you will do the forward smash as the first attack instead. The forward smash is great for hitting high places. Pressing circle or B 2 times will do the right swing and flourish attacks. The flourish attack can also be done as the first attack if you add a directional input and press circle or B. The full animation of the flourish move can be cancelled by adding an evade. This helps with quickly dealing damage on top of getting a note for your melody. I'd recommend doing this if you want a quick hit on the monster before finding another opportunity to deal damage. If you're a button masher, you're gonna have to be very careful with the flourish attack. When you do this move, you can add a note in between this attack, allowing you to easily build up your melody. For example, if I do the flourish move and press triangle and circle or Y and B on the 2nd swing of this move, you can see I added an additional note in between this attack. So if you're a button masher and you mash circle or B to do this move, you will mess up your melody. But if you're pro enough, you can quickly build up your melody. I feel like a lot of new players won't be making use of this ability, but if you can do it, you're already better than the average horn player. Me being one of the average players because I'm too stupid to do that. You can kinda button mash to add the additional note for your melody, but you might mess up your next attack input. Pressing triangle and circle or Y and B 2 times will do the backward strike and overhead smash. The backward strike is good for moving away from the monster, or a better way to use this attack is to face your back towards the monster, so you can hit anything above your head. But I recommend not using focus mode to do the attack in this way. The overhead smash can be done as your first attack as well, if you add a directional input and press triangle and circle or Y and B. Just like the flourish attack, you can add an additional note in between this attack. After any overhead smash, if you add a directional input and press triangle and circle or Y and B, you will do the follow-up version of this attack. After any attack, if you hold back the left stick and press triangle or Y or circle or B, or triangle and circle or Y and B, you will do the hilt stab. This attack can help with quickly getting a note to build up your melody, and it's also a counter attack, meaning that if you time this attack with a monster's attack, you can hit back at the monster. Just know that you do take a bit of damage when you nail it right. So if your health is really low, you might not live through the attack. Pressing R2 or RT will do the perform attack. It does nothing if you have no melodies stocked up. And if you have some notes played, they will disappear if you do this move. If you do have melodies, the perform move will activate each melody from the top of the list. You can also dodge to cancel between each melody in case the monster wants to send you home. You might have noticed on the melody list, you can choose which melody to play first. Pressing R2 and triangle or RT and Y will play the second melody, whereas pressing R2 and circle or RT and B will do the third. That way you can quickly access the melody effects first before the other effects. The perform move acts differently when you hold the left stick forward, away, left or right from where you're facing. Good for repositioning yourself. A little thing to know, if you do the perform attack, you can move the left stick forward so that your hunter will kick the horn to go in front of the character. Doing this will make the sound waves of the horn hit anything in front of you instead of being behind you, just in case you misinput the perform move and want the horn to be in front of you. I literally learned this while making this tutorial. Kinda blew my mind. When you have a list of melodies to perform, pressing R2 or RT on time will do the performance beat, which speeds up the whole perform list and does extra damage. After the last melody, if you press R2 or RT, you will do the encore move. This boosts the power of every melody that has been played. You can also press triangle and circle to do the encore early if you have a list of melodies to be played instead of waiting for the last melody. Pressing R2 and X or RT and A will do the echo bubble move. This places an area of effect buff depending on what your horn has. You can only place 3 bubbles before you have to wait for one of the 3 dots to appear. Just like the flourish attack, you can add in a note, but instead of just 1 note, you can add 3 notes if you're fast and smart enough. My brain can't do that, unfortunately. The cool thing about these bubbles is that whenever you perform an attack, if a monster is within the bubble, they will take damage as well. This can significantly increase your DPS with this weapon, so it's best to place these bubbles as soon as you can. Some horns have an offset attack, and to find out if a horn does, you will need to find the offset melody under the list of melodies. It should be the very last melody on the list. Once you've played the melody, to do the offset melody, you can press or hold R2, triangle and circle, or RT, Y and B to do the offset attack. Obviously, holding down these inputs help with timing your attack with the monster's attack. Now there's something cool you can do with the focus strike. You can add up to 5 notes while your hunter is strumming away. So if you're pro enough, you can get a whole melody ready. But if you play the notes at the right time, you can play up to 6 notes, do additional damage, and you can place an echo bubble on your location, even if you've used up all of your bubbles. If you do have bubbles already placed, doing this will replace your last bubble placement. Honestly, I didn't know about timing the notes part until I read the guide. I gotta say, the hardest or the most complex thing about this weapon is the ability to add in additional notes in between some attacks. It's hard for me at least, because trying to create a melody on top of doing the attack you're already doing makes my brain shut down. So I'd be pretty amazed if you can do that. For now though, what moves or tactics do I recommend doing with the horn? Every horn does have one buff in common, and that's the self-improvement melody. This is always done by pressing triangle or Y 2 times to get the melody. This buff allows your counter to move faster, and if you perform the encore on this melody, your attack power increases and your attacks won't be deflected from hard parts of a monster. This movement speed buff actually does have a huge effect on your character, so make sure this buff is active throughout your fights. If you're a solo player using the horn, I would recommend activating your buffs before starting any fights. That way you don't need to worry about your buffs in the middle of your fights, and you can focus on KOing the monster so that you can deal free damage while the monster tries to get back up. Although you do have to worry about the buffs when they disappear mid-battle. Otherwise, make sure you're around other players so they can get those buffs. I already talked about the echo bubbles, but I'll say it again. Make sure they are on the field as soon as you can. That way, when you're fighting the monster and they happen to land in one of the bubbles, you can use that chance to deal more damage while you're beating up the monster. I didn't really talk about combos because you can pretty much mix up any attack for a combo. Remember to always keep an eye out on your buffs because they will disappear without you noticing. Looking at the icons above your health bar shows how long until your buffs disappear. Lastly, what are some skills I would recommend? Well, Horn Maestro is a must because it's literally built for the horn, since it allows your buffs to last longer. Slugger is another option because this weapon deals blunt damage, and hitting the head of a monster can possibly knock them out. Evade Extender is actually quite good because you have no shield and your only option is to dodge away from attacks, or mostly to reposition yourself as well. Maximum Might works well since you only use stamina to dodge or to reposition, so this skill is perfect for horn users. Bludgeoner is also a good pick because most horn sharpness gauges can easily land you in the lower levels. Just make sure to not sharpen your horn, otherwise this skill is useless. The Hunting Horn is a hard weapon if you try to do those additional notes in between attacks on top of the monster trying to kick your ass. On the other hand though, this weapon is very easy when you already applied all your buffs and you don't have the monster locked on you. Also, you gotta be quite a patient player if you fight solo with this weapon because you gotta find all the right moments to land those hits. If you like this video, I do have other weapon tutorials that you can check out as well. So be sure you're subscribed to the channel to see more of my stuff, and I'll see you later.